The Footprints by the Canal. A Halloween Legend by Manolito Schwarz. Prologue. The Miller and the Water. Long before Coerde became part of the city, when it was just a scatter of huts between marsh and canal, an old mill stood by the water. It belonged to Johann Thies, known to the villagers as the Grey Miller. He was a quiet man, withdrawn, pale, who spoke more to the water than to people. They said he heard voices when the sluice roared, and that he often slipped out at night to whisper to the canal. Some claimed he prayed, others whispered that he begged the water to take his guilt. He carried a burden. His wife, Elise, had vanished one night. He said she ran away, but weeks later, children found a shoe and a scrap of fabric tangled in the reeds, torn, soaked, and stiff with silt. No one asked questions, but everyone knew. After that night, the mill never worked right again. The water rose higher, louder. Johann grew thinner, weaker. And one freezing winter evening, he walked into the canal, barefoot, up to his waist. A neighbor swore he saw him touch the old millstone and whisper, "Take what's left of me, but don't leave me alone." Then Johann walked forward until the black water closed over him. A few bubbles surfaced, then silence. By morning, the mill wheel turned on its own, creaking in the mist, and on the bank, the villagers found bare, wet footprints, leading away from the water and ending nowhere. Chapter 1. The Night by the Canal. Decades later, on a cold autumn night, fog blanketed Coerde. The canal lay still, only the faint drip beneath the bridge breaking the silence. Manolito walked the narrow path along the water, alone. Then he stopped. On the pavement shone bare, wet footprints. They came out of the canal and led under the bridge, twisting wildly as if someone had struggled or danced there. Then they turned back toward the water. He crouched. The prints were fresh, drops still sliding from their edges. A brown duck burst from the dark water, circling low before diving at a rat that scurried across the stones. A squeal, a splash, and then nothing. The duck vanished into the brush. The rat disappeared beneath the surface. The water smoothed over, black and glassy. But something about the moment clung to him. The silence felt wrong, too still, too aware. And as he turned to leave, he couldn't shake the feeling that something beneath the surface was watching him. Chapter 2. The Whisper in the Water. 2 nights later, the local paper ran a headline. Unidentified person missing in Coerde Canal. Witnesses report screams. Manolito barely slept. He couldn't forget the footprints. Each night he swore he heard sounds, faint breathing through pipes, slow steps in unseen water. On the 3rd night, he went back. The fog was thicker, the air metallic and damp. The canal gleamed dull as steel. Then came the whisper, low, rhythmic, as if someone were speaking from beneath the surface. He couldn't catch the words, only the tone, a chorus of voices murmuring together. And then he saw her. A woman stood by the water, barefoot, her hair dripping, her eyes pale as fog. She didn't move. Water streamed from her hands. "I only follow the footprints," she said softly. "He wouldn't let me go." Behind her, the water swelled as though something vast was rising from below. A shape took form, shifting, pulsing, neither man nor beast, and then it was gone. When Manolito blinked, the woman had vanished. Only the water remained, rippling gently, as if exhaling. Chapter 3. The Call of the Deep by Morning. Police tape fluttered by the canal. Divers combed the water, their lights sliding like fireflies beneath the surface. One later said the water down there felt warm, like something sleeping. "No body," an officer murmured. "Just bits of skin, thin as paper." That evening, fog swallowed the streets. In Manolito's apartment, water dripped onto tile. Bare, wet footprints led from the hall to the bathroom mirror. On the fogged glass, a message had appeared. "He takes those who see him." Then came knocking. Not at the door. From below. From the bathtub. Chapter 4. The Deep Calls. The nights after that were restless. A pale glow shimmered above the canal. The water seemed to breathe. Neighbors said they'd seen a man standing there, motionless, until the lamplight flickered and his outline dissolved. It was Manolito. He had come back, maybe out of curiosity, maybe because something beneath the surface whispered his name. On the wall above the deepest part of the canal, a word was carved into the damp concrete. "He calls." The air was still. The city silent. Then the water stirred, not in waves, but in slow, steady breaths. Something moved below, pale and waiting. A face surfaced, built from water and reflected light, its features shifting, familiar and strange at once. "He's coming," murmured the fog. "He takes those who see him." The water crept toward the bank, tracing thin fingers across the stone. Manolito reached for the railing. It was slick. He slipped forward, and, with a dull, heavy splash, the surface swallowed him. Then everything went still. At dawn, passers-by found a phone on the shore. The final video showed the canal, calm, unmoving, and in its reflection, a human-shaped shadow with eyes that glowed silver in the dark. Manolito was never seen again. The legend of the Coerde watermen. The water never forgets what it takes. Old saying from Munster Coerde. Since that night, locals say the canal has changed. It's no longer silent. It breathes. Sometimes it whispers a name. On cold, misty nights, when the bridge lamps flicker, you can hear soft steps on the path, bare feet slapping wet stone. The footprints always start at the water, and they always end where no one can walk, beneath the railing, above the deepest part of the canal. Some call it imagination. Others swear they've seen him, a figure half man, half reflection, born from the dark itself. He wears a familiar face, and in his eyes the lamplight trembles like drowning stars. They say, the townsfolk whisper, it's the one who found the footprints. He doesn't call out. He waits. For those who lean too close to the water. For those who notice the footprints and stop. For those who see the waterman needs warmth, memory, voices, to remember who he once was. And each time someone meets him, he takes a fragment of their soul and leaves it glittering at the shore, a trace of water and dust. Even now, people find footprints near where the old mill once stood, prints that end in mid-air. And when the north wind blows, you might hear a whisper so faint you're not sure whether it comes from the canal or from yourself. I was only thirsty. Epilogue. They say that on the stillest nights, when fog smothers the canal and the city holds its breath, the water whispers, a slow breath through metal and stone. If you hear it, keep walking, because those who stop are seen. And the waterman of Coerde, Manolito, never forgets a face.